Is it true that black Americans settled in what we know as United States of America before Columbus and the natives? Well, that's the question I'm here to answer. I know it may sound controversial, but today we are diving into the hidden history of black Americans as the first people in the Americas. That's right. There are theories and evidence suggesting that black people might have been in the Americas long before Native Americans or even Columbus. Now I know this might sound surprising, even shocking, but history is full of stories that have been hidden, forgotten, or deliberately erased. So let's uncover the clues, examine the evidence, and see why this narrative challenges everything we've been told about who the first Americans really were. So grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's get started. Let's start with what most of us learned in school. Humans originated in Africa about 200,000 years ago. Over tens of thousands of years, they migrated to every corner of the globe. The story goes that the first humans to reach the Americas came from Asia around 15,000 years ago. They crossed a land bridge called Beringia that connected Siberia to Alaska. These early settlers, who became the ancestors of Native Americans, spread out across North and South America, forming the diverse indigenous cultures we know today. But here is where things get interesting. Not everyone agrees with this timeline. Some researchers and historians believe that Africans may have reached the Americas thousands of years before the Bering Strait migration. You may ask yourself how? Well, it's through the ocean. Let's explore how this could have happened. African civilization were more advanced than many people realize when it came to sailing. For example, the ancient Egyptians were expert shipbuilders who navigated the Nile and even ventured into the open sea. There is also evidence that West African empires like Mali had skilled mariners. One famous story involves Mansa Abubakar II, a Malian ruler in the 14th century, who allegedly sent a fleet of ships westward across the Atlantic. Some believe these explorers could have reached the Americas long before Columbus. And then there is the Olmec civilization in Mesoamerica, one of the first advanced societies in the Americas. Some of their colossal stone heads have facial features that resemble Africans, leading to theories about early African influence. Well, of course, mainstream historians argue that these features could simply be coincidental or represent other ethnic groups, but it raises an important question. Could ancient Africans have crossed the Atlantic and left their mark on early American cultures? Well, let's talk about the evidence. Skeletal remains have been found in the Americas that some scientists believe predate the arrival of Native Americans. One famous case is the Luzia woman, a skull discovered in Brazil that dates back over 11,000 years. What's fascinating is that Luzia's skull has features more commonly associated with Africans or Aboriginal Australians than with Native Americans. Then, there are cultural artifacts, tools, pottery, and carvings that some researchers claim show similarities between African and early American designs. And let's not forget DNA. Genetic studies on ancient remains are ongoing, but they sometimes reveal surprising results. For instance, small traces of African ancestry have been found in some indigenous populations, though it's debated whether this comes from ancient contact or more recent history, like the Transatlantic Slave Trade. The problem is that this kind of evidence is often dismissed or labeled as fringe. Why? Let's dig into that next. History is written by victors, right? When Europeans colonized the Americas, they created a narrative that put themselves at the center of everything. Anything that didn't fit their story, like evidence of African or other non-European contributions, was often ignored or destroyed. For example, many indigenous oral histories and African traditions were dismissed as myth. European histories or historians labeled anything they didn't understand as uncivilized. Even today, researchers who challenge mainstream archaeology face intense criticism. They are accused of pseudoscience or of having an agenda. But isn't it worth asking why these alternative theories make people so uncomfortable? Well, by exploring these hidden histories, we are not just rewriting the past, we are reclaiming it. Let's look at the stories and legends. Did you know that some Native American tribes have oral traditions about black-skinned people arriving in their lands long ago? Similarly, African oral histories mention journeys to lands far across the sea. For example, some West African legends describe voyages to a great western land where their ancestors interacted with unfamiliar peoples. Linguists have even found intriguing connections between African and Native American languages. While this evidence isn't definitive, it adds another layer to the puzzle. Could these stories and linguistic clues be fragments of a forgotten history? It's hard to say for sure, but they are worth exploring. So why does this matter? Well, if Africans were among the first people in the Americas, it challenges the idea that Black history in the New World began with slavery. It also highlights the incredible achievements of ancient African civilizations, which were capable of exploration and innovation long before Europe dominated the narrative. For Black Americans, this history can be a source of pride and empowerment. It reminds us that Black people have always been contributors to the world history, not just its victims. And for all of us, it's a chance to rethink what we know about the past. History is complex, and there is still so much we don't fully understand. Wow, we've covered a lot today, from ancient mariners to suppressed histories to the meaning of it all. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I hope it inspires you to dig deeper. Keep questioning, keep learning, and most importantly, keep an open mind. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, what do you think about these theories? Could Africans really have been the first people in the Americas? Well, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next on time. Thank you.